Hello, I'm so excited about this opportunity to share with you about women and power. It's a topic that is so close to my heart and has been heavy in my mind with so many unprecedented things happening from the election season to the Women's March, the death of RBG, the Me Too movement, and so many things in between. I think more than ever before, it's so important for women to understand the concept of power and how we negotiate it, embrace it, and even define it. I want you to do this exercise for me. Just take a deep breath. And then I want you to think, when you hear the word power, what are some of the words that come to your mind? I'm going to give you 5 to 7 seconds to think about it. I conducted this little experiment with friends and family, and some of the words that came to mind were ability, capacity, control, mastery, dominion, efficacy, vigor, force, lordship, authority, strength, control. These are some words that women have used to define what power is. But to really understand a concept, I always encourage that we go back to the beginning and the origin to understand what the creators intended for that word or concept. The word power takes its origins from Latin. The original word is patore. And what I find really interesting about the concept is that it originally meant an individual or individuals who had influence over someone who had positional authority. Essentially, power was the force behind the positional power, which is really interesting compared to how we define power today. Power is also an action. If you look at the dictionary definition, it speaks about power as the capacity and the ability to get something done. It's also the capacity and the ability to encourage somebody else to get something done. And so in that sense, power is active. One of my favorite quotes by Brooke Astor says that power is the ability to do good things for others. In her definition of power, she adds this additional element of benevolence to it that says that I have power if what I'm doing is useful or beneficial to another person. We can also define power as a quality, something that is innate, something that's within us. It's not necessarily what you do, it's who you are. But it raises the question, is power acquired or is it given? Do I have to work for it? Do I have to earn it? Or does society wield and give power to those who we feel are deserving of power? No matter how you understand it, it's very important as women that we define power, that we embrace it and we understand what it means to us, not just the general definition that society gives, but when I think of power, what does it actually mean to me? The history of women in power is very interesting. Right now in our society, when we think about powerful women, unfortunately, there's so many negative connotations that come with it. We think about women who are forceful and aggressive and pushy. There's so many studies that have looked at that concept. But I want us to look a little bit deeper into the history of women and how they've wielded power. Let's look at Egypt, for instance. I know we think a lot about Cleopatra, but I want to draw your attention to a different woman, Hatshepsut, the first female pharaoh in Egypt. What's interesting about her is that she learned to lead by changing how women were defined as power figures in ancient Egypt. I also think about someone like Wu Zetian, the first female empress in China. Now she led and she wielded power in terms of military force and might. She was a warrior, she fought alongside men, and that was how she not only took power, but it's how she maintained power until her death. I also think about someone like Razia Sultan, who is the first female sultan in India. She was a Muslim woman who at the time was part of not only a cultural but also a religious institution that relegated women to the background. And she learned how to navigate her power as a woman rather than trying to mimic what men before her had done. The question then is, what happened? How did we go from that rich history of powerful women and women embracing and understanding their power to where we are today? The reality is so many things happened. So much time has passed, gender roles were infused, redefinition of what it meant to be powerful. And one of the things that I find really interesting is the infusion of patriarchy, where we began to associate power with masculinity and being male. And such that if you were a woman who you were powerful and embraced power, you were seen as moving closer to being a man and moving away from being a woman who you were supposed to be. But what I encourage us all to do is to define power, because society has defined it for us that so many of us have forgotten what it even means. And I really want to encourage you to think, how do I define power for me? Not just what I've been told, but what do I understand as power? Once you've defined power, then you want to embrace it, because every single one of us has power, whether we realize it or not. It might be positional power, it might be the power of your mind, it might be your talents, your ability, your capacity. We all have power in some way or format. It's a question of finding it and then embracing it and understanding how to use it skillfully. I strongly encourage women to veer away from the crab mentality. It's that thought process that if I'm going up, I'm the only woman who can go up. I'm the only woman who can occupy position of power in that sphere of influence. And nothing is farther from the truth. The more women who can occupy power, the more of us will be able to embrace our power. I also encourage women to learn to be the kind of person who fixes another woman's crown. Said another way, if you see another woman stumbling or falling, it's not our job to push her down or expose her, but it's our job to cover and encourage and push up and prop up that woman. I started off this presentation by telling you to reflect, and that's exactly how I'm going to end it. I want you to think, when you hear the word power, and you, what are the words that come to your mind? I hope that as a result of this presentation, you've been able to just think a little differently about the word power and to learn to define it and to embrace it and encourage other women to find and own their own power. Thank you.